Dr. Jazz.
Hey guys,
Dr.
Samo here.
Jazz.
Thanks for checking out the channel and its contents. And if you feel like it, please do subscribe. Thanks so much. Enjoy the video. Bye. Man, thanks for finding the time.
Of course.
I've
I'm
been a
happy
fan
to
of
be
your
here.
music, first of all. I mean, I bought those early Pirouette records. I bought all of them actually from all the artists, and including you. And that's how I found out about you. And I
Cool.
still love Forest of Oblivion, by the way. That's such a nice record.
Thank you.
And
Uh, it's my first record,
yeah, I know.
and
Yeah.
there's always a nostalgic feeling connected to the first album, and a mixture of happy about the opportunity and thinking back to the moment when we recorded, but also like it's a long time ago, and we've come. I don't know where. I think we're in a different place now, after 20 years. But I think back to that record sometimes.
It's really nice. I mean, it's like really a nice record. The tunes, I mean, you've always been such a great composer, I think. Also on Unity. I mean, I want to talk about Unity later.
Hmm.
But already on that first record, it's just like the melodies are beautiful, man. It's just, I mean, I watched so
Thank
many
you.
interviews. Of course, you as the interviewer, but I think melody seems to be quite important for you, right? When you compose, beside the
Yeah,
harmony, obviously, and rhythm, but still melodies like,
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's always different interests going on, and sometimes I might be more thinking about. I especially remember in the early days, I was obsessed with harmony, and I still am. But melody and rhythm has become more and more uh, not important, but like the starting point now is melody for me. In the majority of pieces that I write, melody is the starting point, and
really
that was
interesting.
that
Okay.
wasn't the case when I did Forest of Oblivion or in any, not really in those in that early stage of the trio and my compositions for the trio. But now when I compose, usually I'm not composing or starting the compositional process at the instrument, but more at the kitchen table, writing down the melodies that I hear, and then trying to imagine harmonies that go along with that, or
Mm.
counter melodies, or maybe even no harmonies. And then I refine it at the piano, and that is like uh, in the early days it was all piano, and
Okay.
but I'm quite happy with the absence of the instrument when I'm composing these days,
Yeah,
because it
it
helps.
changes, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure you know this too. It on the instrument you have certain habits, and I always work against my habits, but they are there. They are your, in a way, your comfort zone also. So to really be able to explore and go beyond what's comfortable for you, we have to step out of that zone. And at first, not having the instrument was scary for writing, because it was like, oh, I don't know if what I'm hearing in my head, if I can really transport that to the page. But the more I did it, I could see when I then went to the piano, oh, there you were actually in line with what you heard. And there you were, I don't know, a half note off or
Mm.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I agree. We go to the same. I always want to
Yeah.
pick up my guitar. I mean, not always, but like, you go to the same licks or same voicings, and it's like, ah, shit, I'm again there. It's another 7/4 with minor seconds in there. It's like, ah, dude.
I
And
mean, our muscle memory and our yeah th- our that's our language
yeah,
also, like the
yeah,
things that we
yeah.
gravitate towards too, and so there's for sure a positive side to that, I think. But there can also be something, if I would give in to other things that I feel comfortable with, I wouldn't go anywhere, I think, you
Sure.
know?
Absolutely.
Then it would really sound the same. But there's ways to escape that, and
Yeah.
I'm always trying to find new ways to escape or to expand my comfort zone in a way.
Yeah. I mean, especially rhythm. I listened to that tune, and I saw you have a lead sheet of investigations, which is rhythmically that's a tricky one, man.
Which
Well,
one? Sorry,
I
say
think
again.
I think investigations, right?
Oh,
That's like says like
investigations.
that's
Yeah,
5 and 7 and
yeah,
4. Like, what's the story behind that one, for instance? What was?
yeah. So investigations was written in, I think, 2017. I was alone a week in my home. I was alone. The family was gone. My wife was gone with the kids. So I had time to just spend at the piano. So this one was written for sure at the piano, and I fooled around with some chords, some voicings, and I liked them. But I also felt like that the same thing that you just described, where I was like, yeah, they're fine, I guess. They're cool voicings and they go nicely together, but there's no melody. There's just these voicings. What happens if I arpeggiate those voicings?
Okay.
I like that even better than the first idea. But then I was bored by the direction was always the same. So I would always go up, So I said, let me go up one and go down the other one. So first voicing goes up. And you can still hear this in the composition where it goes like doon, 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 and then the next one, dee, doo, 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 it goes down. But what happened there is like, then I got bored with the sameness of the rhythm. So then I thought, okay, what happens if each voicing that gets arpeggiated either down or up has its own rhythm or its own speed? And I just played around with each thing, and then noticed that, yeah, a lot of those arpeggios wanted to have their own rhythm and timing, basically. So I allowed for that and made that the foundation of the first page of the song. And that was the first 2 days or so of that week. And it was basically, then I started almost like writing a journal, where the next day I was like, okay, let me see how I feel now.
Wow.
And the song had arrived at a energetic thing, and 2 times basically through the first page, with each time a different ending. And then I just, on the third day, I think, I just played with my left hand and wanted to write something where there's melody and harmony, although it's almost, I mean, there's sometimes dyads, but usually it's just one note. And I wanted to have something that is a melody in the bass, but could also serve as an accompaniment. And that was the second page, or half of the second page. And that became like the maybe the feature, or the where the focus is on Robert Landvermann, my bassist, who you talked to as well.
Yeah, I love Robert. Yeah.
And then I just went from there and just saw how I could contrast what happened before and maybe reintroduce some things again. And basically the whole composition was my journal throughout that week. And then it became like the hardest thing for me with writing is really coming up with a title that is. The thing is, I feel like a title has power and has.
It does, man.
Yeah, and has importance in what we do, because I just know how I feel when I'm getting handed something where there's like where there's not so much care, or even like, how do you say this, condescending titles, or I mean, I'm just thinking about like last week I played a gig with Lage, and he has very funny titles, but and they come through. He says, I basically gave up, but still I think they're funny in some ways, but I think they're still so cool, and they give somehow a direction for the player, even if they're sometimes ridiculous, you know. And even if they're even contradicting, like there was one song that we played which is called Boogie, which isn't like a boogie at all. but still somehow him choosing that title did something to me. And then there's people like Wayne Shorter or Ben Monder or I don't know. Everybody has a unique approach to naming songs, and I feel like there's it does something to the player when there is an actual title over the page and not really a working title or something.
Yep.
It's an opportunity to give your players a vibe, a direction, meaning, whatever. So I've experimented a lot with that, and at some point with this song, it felt so much like me being a detective looking for clues in the composition that I felt like, okay, this is basically like an investigation to find the name for this song. So I just called it that, and then this became because it reminded me of what I'm doing when I'm studying a person or a tune or a piece of art or whatever. This is also like investigation. So that's why I called my podcast like that.
Yeah. I mean, you do that. Yeah, I love. I mean, I want to touch it later also in
Sure.
your podcast, because we're kind of both doing the same thing. But I'm like the one who arrives at the crime scene first and kind of scams through, and that you're like really like, shit. There's like, you know, there's
There's a
something there,
piece
right?
of blood, yeah,
Yeah.
tissue, yeah.
Yeah, I love your talks, man, because I cook every day at home. I'm a chef like at home and for
hmm
the family, and I always put on a podcast by an interview, and I'm just like chopping carrots. I'm like, what? Hearing someone
Yeah,
saying something like,
cool.
wait a second, what? But yeah, I love the titles, man. Like Bill Frisell, like he's the master of
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah,
It's just like for me when I see a tune by Frisell, it's like, man, the title is already like, wow, okay, we're
yeah,
gonna go there. It's like, damn, Ghost Town, whatever. It's like
yes, yes,
incredible, right?
totally, yeah.
But then you have Scofield, right? When his wife Susan, like he told me that
She
once,
helps him
she's
out,
just like,
yeah,
yeah, like green tea. Like, okay, green tea.
yeah.
Yeah,
Still, I love the title. I love it.
I love it. Yeah.
I prefer green tea to no title or
Yes,
to I don't know, whatever.
absolutely, absolutely. I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned Robert before, and Jonas, you've been playing together like since Forest of Oblivion, I guess, even
Even
before,
before that,
obviously. Yeah.
yeah. Next year it's gonna be 20 years.
Oh
So
man, how is it like for you? I always ask musicians that also. I talked with Paul McCandless about that with Oregon. They played together with Ralph for what, 50 years maybe? That's a long time, or modern jazz quartet. Like,
hmm
how is it for you? How do I mean, you added guitar Nelson now to the trio, which really spiced up things. But how do you make it interesting for them and for you to keep it fresh? Because it can be in a way also like
Hmm.
not boring, but you know what I mean. How do you make it interesting after 20 years that you surprise yourself and them?
Yeah, that's basically the answer. Find ways to, surprise yourself and to work on. It's like with real relationship between friends and also marriage or whatever form of, relationship you have with your partner. I think you have to work on it. And some things go effortlessly, and those are the things that you can rely on. But also there's issues, and there's triggers, and there's topics that you have to deal with. And sometimes they are the same for the whole time, and sometimes they just come up like that, and you have to deal with it. And I feel like with my experience with the trio, that's exactly like that.
Mm,
So if I don't think we would be together if I didn't continue to work on opportunities for us to play. If I wouldn't work on just writing new material, because every time I have a new song, we basically get together for a rehearsal.
it's beautiful.
Of
Yeah.
course, more often when there's a concert involved, but often just for a new composition. Lately, it has been so many compositions that we just connected the rehearsals to, okay, there's a new tour, and then I brought all the new music, because lately I've been writing like a crazy amount of music, which I didn't see it coming, but it's like a wave that I'm riding at the moment,
cool.
which is beautiful. So, and then we pretty early on we established a way of talking together where we could actually talk about things without hurting each other. Although sometimes it might still hurt, but we always knew that we love each other, and then there's a mutual respect there. And when that is established, you can really go into the fields where where you can talk about your habits, you can talk about things that always happen, and then you can question them and talk about that. And sometimes that might hurt for a while, or it might be something that you really have to work on. But in that way, we always help each other, and we also it's to varying degrees, but all of us listen to the recordings that we do.
Okay.
I guess I'm the one who listens to them the most, because they might not listen to every concert, but I do often, and then I notice things, and then I address them, and vice versa. Then we
Can
think
you name
about
such an example? Yeah, like for instance.
it's like noticing. Let me think. We talked about so many things throughout the years, but it's like we basically asked each other questions. Can we try to? Does a solo always have to have the same kind of build up? Does a solo need to build anyhow? Can I comp for Robert's bass solo basically by just playing one chord at one moment and that's enough? Or can I find ways to challenge Robert without getting in his way? What are the different ways to comp for a bassist? What are the different ways to comp for a drum solo? On the last concert, I said something to Jonas where I noticed that in a certain feel, he always starts the song in a certain way if he's doing a drum intro in time. And I'm not going to say what it is because we're working on it. But on that day, he didn't do it, and it opened up a different thing, So, and that happens for all of us.
Absolutely, yeah.
And also, we keep each other in the loop about what's happening in other bands. So we have a trio chat, and we always hip each other to new recordings or different ideas that we could practice together. Practicing together is also a good example of, having basically a working band that works on stuff, telling each other, let's work on this next time, and make a note for that. But also, Robert comes back from a tour and he tells us what the tour was like, and also what he learned from it. And, and I do the same, Jonas does the same. So basically everything
Growing.
Flows into the trio in some form.
That's beautiful.
And also oftentimes you've named Nelson as a guest. We invite, from the start, we invited guests to the trio, and every time there's a new guest, they inspire us to play differently. And sometimes that is also a struggle because you're used to playing trio, and then you're like, but we can't play the same now with this person. And then we realize we don't have to. And that's exactly the opportunity that we can play differently, because there is an added harmony instrument like Nelson. That's a great opportunity for me to lay out more or to comp with him, which I love. I love to comp with guitarists together, or to have somebody else present the melody, or just different. Like last week we played in southern Germany with Nelson, 2 gigs, and I just loved and we hadn't played with him for a while, and I just loved that how much shared experience was there. We didn't have a rehearsal. We just had, and he learned the new songs that I wrote. And we didn't need to really rehearse something. We just jumped right back in. And there was since we had played with him so much, there was a mutual or a shared experience there that we could draw from. And also there were moments where I could sit back and say, oh, wow, now Nelson is comping for Robert. I can just enjoy what's happening and not play for a long time.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah. It's such a luxury that you have this with Robert and Jonas. I mean, it's...
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's just
I'm very
because...
grateful for it. And of course, it also has to work personally.
Absolutely.
So if the personalities and the temperaments are not, I don't know, are not working well together, then it's hard to keep it up for 20 years. I mean, we really like each other. And we've gone through many stages where maybe someone was more interested in that kind of way of playing for a while, and that could find its place in the trio. And next year we're going to have a lot of guests celebrating the 20th anniversary of the trio. So I'm looking forward to weeks with Alexandra Ridout, great trumpet player, and Chris Potter and Emilio Modeste. And then there's 1 week with, I mean, we're working on it, but like with Alexandra Ridout and Marta Wajcik, a great saxophone player. And
also two players, wow, at the same time, like a quintet then.
First time, really.
Oh, man, okay.
So we're trying to work on a tour for the summer for that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, man. Yeah, I love the way you work with Nelson together because, piano and guitar can be very tricky. But
that's what we're told always, but I don't believe it. It's tricky. When one of the players isn't listening.
True.
But it's easy if both are listening and have maybe a shared harmonic language, or also different harmonic language, but that could work together and that only can gel if you really listen.
Yeah.
And I mean, then it's the same with every instrument, I feel. Although we have the same function, traditionally speaking, if the bass player is not listening, I can't play with them either. Like with a guitarist or with an organ player. I'm a fan of playing together with other harmonic instruments because it really makes me play differently because I can't play the same. Yeah. And that's an opportunity to learn and to grow. So I seek out these things,
It's important. Yeah. I did years ago two records with Stefano Battaglia, you know him? He's like...
No, I don't know him.
He did like 10 albums for ECM.
Oh, wow.
Like an amazing piano player. And I was so scared in a way, I was a fan, and then I approached him. But playing with piano, it went so smoothly. We were like, oh, shit.
It works.
It works amazingly. It's just... I was afraid because when I started with jazz, I was like 17. I played in a quintet with a piano player. And, you played straight no chaser, and I was comping with whole chords, and he was... So, like, shit, man, that's such a mess, like...
Yeah, sure.
But... obviously, yeah, it's completely different than once you grow, and but yeah, it's a nice combo. You with Nelson, also with Scofield, man. I love that stuff. How was that like for you with John? I mean, my hero, I guess, one of your heroes as well.
Oh yes, totally. Yeah, he's my hero.
How was that like?
It was a dream. It was like a dream come true, and I grew up listening to him through my parents who loved his music. And we would listen to his music in the car, at home, and on CD, on cassette, some LPs. And one of my first, not my first concert, but like one of the early concerts that I really remember, because I was also taken to concerts as a baby and as a kid. So there's a lot of things that I know I went to, but I don't remember, or just small glimpses. But the one that I really remember is when I was 10 years old, seeing his quiet band with Seamus Blake, Kevin Hayes, Larry Grenadier, Bill Stewart. Kevin Hayes playing a synth and playing the beautiful horn arrangements that Sco wrote for that record. And I saw them in Dortmund, and I still remember when we got home, how I felt and how I felt in the concert. And I think my parents asked me, do you want to say hi to him or get an autograph? And I was like, no, I was scared. And now I could relive that a little bit with, of course, playing with him, but also talking to most of the band about that experience. And there's also a bootleg that I have from that band. So that's an early memory. And of course, I would have never believed that I would get to play with him. I think at that time I just started playing piano. I had played drums until I was 10 years old, then switched to piano. And yeah, I mean, we got the opportunity to play with him because we had a big gig at the Cologne Philharmonic Hall, and they wanted us to have a guest, and we said we wanted Scofield, and they asked him. So if I would have asked the management, they would have said no. But coming from an esteemed place like the Philharmonic Hall, we had a way in. And I mean, I've told the story before, but it's like apparently what happened. Sko told me this. His wife, who's his manager, was about to say no, but apparently Bill Stewart was in the room, who was on the same label as, Pirouette Records at the same time as we were. And so he told the Scofields, no, check them out. They're good. And then Sko heard the music, and then he said, okay, I'm going to say yes, but only if you don't send me too complicated music. And I took that cue and sent him a bunch of songs and requested a lot of my favorites from him. And he sent me, not via email, but like an actual letter.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
Printed out music and handwritten note. And it's like, here are some pieces. Thanks for sending yours. And, he was super sweet. And we couldn't believe how sweet he was when he then came to Köln to rehearse with us a few days before the show, and then shared so many stories. And then how well prepared he was. He really knew about the songs that I sent him. And for some of the songs that I requested, he didn't have sheet music anymore. So I got to transcribe them and then show him the transcription. And then he was like, yeah, that's about right. Or here, maybe add this or something. And we also played some standards. And yeah, we had this amazing first gig with him at the Cologne Philharmonic Hall on January 31st, 2014, a few days after my first child was born, my daughter. So I was in a different mode. So everything seemed surreal, Okay. And then we recorded that first show, and Sko always said sent me a few emails where it's like, it's good that we recorded the show. Maybe we can put it out at some point. And I said, yeah, sure, you're nice. Sure, John. And then he kept saying it again and saying it again. So at one point I thought, okay, I will ask my label if they, and then it all worked out somehow. And we were able to release that first concert as a record, which is also rare because, I mean, first encounters are vulnerable, everything is new, very fresh. It has so many positive sides, but also it, oftentimes it's the first time you play, and it can also sound like that. But with this combination, somehow it really worked. And when I listen to it now, I can tap into the excitement of us, we're going to play with Sko, and wow, to hear his sound up close and to hear him interpret our melodies, and with him playing his music with him, And then he asked us for a tour, to play a tour through Europe with him in 2015. That's 1 year after that.
Oh, wow.
And that was an amazing experience as well. 10 days with him on the road. I really learned a lot. And then we played occasionally on few festivals after that. And we always keep in touch. And I just listened to his duo album with Dave Holland, the new one, and then sent him a nice note that I really enjoyed the record. And, and then he gets back to me, and then I asked him another question because I just read that he was supposed to play with Weather Update by Joe Zawinul. and it didn't happen. And then I asked him why this didn't happen, and he told me, and
Yeah,
so it's nice to have this ongoing exchange with him. And sometimes I go to his gigs and say hi, and
sure.
he's a great guy.
He's amazing. Yeah, he's been one of my guru teachers. You know, when I was 19, I actually lived at his place for 2 months, and
Wow.
studied with him
At
and
his place in
in
Katona, or
Katona. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
That
what
was
was that
like,
like? Did
oh,
you live in his house?
yeah, yeah. He like I
Wow.
had a room in the uppest floor, and I was like a greenhorn, you know, and it was amazing, man. Like, you know, to get to see your hero like walking in kind of morning clothes, eating a cookie, chocolate chip cookie. I was like, oh
Wow, the
shit,
way he
he's
eats a
human, you
cookie.
know. Yeah, yeah, you know how it is.
So
So,
let me know how much does 2 months of lessons with him cost?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, those. Actually, it's a funny story. But like for a beer next time, like somewhere
Okay.
in, like I made his first website in the world, like
Oh, you made it.
yeah, in '94, like as a fan, and then his wife Susan contacted me, like, you know, would you like to do a professional John Scofield homepage, like because it didn't exist, and I was like, yeah, I'm 16, you know, I'm from former Yugoslavia, Slovenia, I don't know. But then
Hmm.
we kind of kept in touch. He found out I play guitar, and yeah, we're still friends nowadays. I saw him last year with
Nice.
Dave here in Slovenia, and
Beautiful. Yeah.
he's such a nice guy, man.
Yeah.
I told him like after the gig, like, man, John, you nailed it, you know, the playing, and he was like, no, man, shit, I still have to practice, you know. Dave is
Hmm.
so good. I was like, wow,
Hmm.
and he really means it. These people
Yeah.
really mean it. That's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right. That the elders,
Yeah.
it's not like, yeah, whatever.
John is also a great example of that. Like the most talented people are often very nice. There are exceptions, of course. Um, but I mean, what I mean with nice is like also so easy to work with,
Yeah,
so professional. He was never late. He was always the he was the first one sitting in the lobby. And then after 1 or 2 days, I noticed like, oh shit, okay, let's be on time. Let's be on time. So just basic professionalism I learned from him also, and the way that he prepared for the tour and the concert is like that was a great example of that I still try to live by today. It's
mm,
like something is coming up, I better be prepared. If I have the time, I need to find ways to be prepared, to be more open in the
mm.
moment.
Were you immediately relaxed when you started to play, like the rehearsals, like because many times when you play with your heroes, you're first a bit stiff. Like how was your experience like?
Yeah, I don't remember much fear or so because he was just so nice, and
Mm,
we hung out the day before with him for a very long Japanese dinner at a great place in Köln, and he told us so many stories, and also we talked about the music before, so there was already this great vibe established through this. And then of course it was exciting, but it wasn't like I was shaking
yeah, yeah,
like when I was starting to play, as a teenager. When I had my first concert, I was physically like shaking, and I would blush, I would sweat. It's not like that anymore. But there was like the positive kind of
excitement.
excitement where
Yeah.
like, yes, we're actually doing this. But also we did it at the Loft in Köln. We had our rehearsal there. So there was a room where we felt comfortable. So that's also like an advantage, or maybe that was a good decision to do it at a place where we feel comfortable, where we
Of
can be
course.
ourselves, and where everything works. And yeah, just the environment, the circumstances were so nice that there wasn't so much room for a negative way of being excited, where you feel like you have to prove something or to live up to something, or
It's important.
you know.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned you visited jazz concerts with your parents, and like, did this interest in jazz come with you naturally? I mean, like, who were
Yes.
the piano players actually that you said like, shit, I want to play jazz piano? You remember those moments? That
Um, no, I don't remember a moment like that. I just remember sitting in front of the record collection of my parents. So a lot of LPs, CDs also. and I would just pick out the records that had the greatest covers, where I felt like, this is something that I want to check out. So still to this day, that's why I gravitate towards certain records, or want to make sure that my albums have covers that where you think, oh, let me check this out, So the first pianist that I really paid attention to, because a lot of it was subconscious, But I remember when my father showed me the first taking off the first Herbie Hancock record. I remember when he showed me Crossings. I remember when I got Headhunters as a birthday present. I remember when I got This Is the Drum, a Herbie Hancock record from
lots of Herbie. Wow, okay.
Lots of Herbie. I'm just naming him first because he's my hero. He's my biggest influence on the piano. And he's still my favorite piano player, and I've gone to various stages of nerd rabbit holes throughout my life, studying him in all kinds of ways. I just noticed that tonight I had a dream about Herbie. It wasn't such a nice dream, but oftentimes I dream about him also. Like it's that obsessive. And so, yeah, there's certain moments where I remember my father or my mother showing me certain albums, and a lot of them are still my favorites. And then there are the records that I picked out myself from the record collection, like Mahavishnu Orchestra, In a Mounting Flame is an important one for me. In a Silent Way by Miles Davis. I remember when my father showed me Bitches Brew first, and I didn't like it, and then he showed it to me again, and then I liked it, and things like that. A lot of Stevie Wonder, Joni Mitchell. There's this record by Quincy Jones, Back on the Block. That was an important one for me. There's a late Mahavishnu Orchestra record called Adventures in Radioland.
Oh yeah, with Danny Gottlieb and those guys, right?
Yes.
Bill Evans, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice one.
And they play a Jim Beard song, which is another hero of mine, and was something that I listened to while I was playing video games. So I connect his music to video games also. And lots of, I loved the music that my parents loved, which wasn't super popular in school, where basically nobody loved this music. And I felt a bit alone in that regard, which is why it felt so great then to be able to go study in Köln and meet so many people who are interested in the same things that I was interested in. And we also listened to Bill Evans. My father is a big Chick Corea and Keith Jarrett fan also, so we listened to that. There's a video of me playing along on drums to Now He Sings, Now He Sobs as a little boy that my parents showed me.
Wow.
So this, I don't remember the first moment when I listened to jazz because it was always there, and I do remember moments where I wanted to quit, and my father encouraged me to stick to it. And then I think when I was 15 or so, or 16, I noticed, okay, this is what I want to do. Before that, I wasn't so sure. Before that, I wanted to be an actor. And because I was also, as much as I was listening to music, I was also watching movies, also together with my parents. And so I knew a lot about movies and was always interested in reading about the making of and everything. And that kind of interest, was the same with music. I was also interested in how it was made and what the inspiration behind it is. And, just to be able to maybe understand a little bit more how these great artists come up with, timeless things.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that explains almost the interview series also. But I wanted to ask you, somewhere you studied with John Taylor as well.
I did, yeah. That's why I went to
He's one of my
Köln.
heroes. How was that like?
It was great. He was a great teacher, not in the form where Um, I mean, he taught by example, so a lot of that I got to absorb by watching him and seeing how he treated music or musical situations through listening to him, but also seeing him in the room trying to work on something or play standards. Or he always wanted me to check out Kenny Wheeler's music, which was easy because I loved that music as well. But he always gave me original sheet music to check out and to side read, because he knew I was a bad reader. He would always give me something to side read. But what I was saying about him, like, he wasn't the teacher that, if he wouldn't have been, I don't know if that's good to say, but if he wouldn't have had his name, I don't know how well he would have done in auditioning for school jobs
Sure.
nowadays. You know,
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say is, like,
I don't know what you mean. Yeah,
the
but I've heard stories about
bureaucracy part
Yeah.
or the admin part. I don't think that was his strength. I don't think he ever really did something in that regard. He was there. If you were lucky, you would see him every second week. That was his thing. And I'm sure he was paid for the whole thing. So, you know, but he was there every second week. And sometimes I didn't see him for months, which also was a great teacher, you know. There was a great way to be taught, because it basically showed me, yes, a good teacher is nice. And it's also nice to see him regularly. But you have to deal with, I mean, the teacher is not going to practice for you. The teacher is not going to do the work that you need to do. If you need guidance, you would see him when there's a chance, because you are so lucky to have lessons with somebody who is really playing, and who's not only really playing, but also who's like one of the greats, you know? So sometimes when I hear students complaining about something like that, I always think, like, well, there's things that you really have to do on your own, and your teacher is not really I think your teacher shouldn't be the person who gives you every next answer. You have to find the questions and the answers yourself, but the teacher is somebody who might point a way in terms of, this is what might be helpful for you coming from my experience. This is something which you could, maybe what you're not considering yet, a way of playing or a person, an artist. So John was great in that also. He helped me to a lot of different things that I wasn't aware of. I would also show him a lot of music that I was interested in, which in retrospect, I could have asked him more questions in that regard. I asked him enough questions, yes, but I really wanted to see what his reaction was to, I don't know, I showed him Ben Monder and wanted to see what his reaction, because I was really into Ben Monder. I don't really remember what he pointed out, but he always pointed out something that I didn't pay attention to. So that was always great to see.
You remember what it was? I mean, because
No,
I'm a huge Monder fan as well.
Yeah, no, I don't remember. I think he must have appreciated the harmony. But I took that as an example for, it's really interesting to see what people who are more experienced and like legends like that, what they pay attention to when they listen to music. That's a great way to see what your teacher is seeing or hearing that you're not hearing.
Yeah.
And then I could, of course, ask him about all my favorite records of his and recording sessions and what that was like. And, you know, that was great. And you could always call standards and play them with him. A very big topic with us was influences and how you incorporate them into your playing. And that was something that I was always, and still am, amazed by and interested in how he did that, because he told me about all of his heroes, which when you know who they are, you can trace some of it. But he's so original that the way that he incorporated their language or his understanding of their language is so unique that it becomes part of him without showing up in a very, very in your face way, you know?
Yeah. No, he's still one of the most underrated piano players, I think. Really.
Yeah.
Like when I talk to some of my students, you know, like, or give them records, they're like, yeah, Keith Jarrett, Chick Corea, the obvious suspects. And you're like, John Taylor is like, what? I was like, come on, people,
Hmm.
you know, here,
Hmm.
listen, I just got a bootleg from a student of mine from Bremen, the trio with Joey Bear and Mark Johnson. They just released a new album for ECM,
They did, yeah.
and there's an incredible bootleg from that era from Bremen. I think it's Bremen, and it sounds even better than this live one. It's just
Yeah.
like,
Um,
dude,
I also have a few
or
bootlegs. We
Bielefeld
should,
or something.
yeah,
Which
Bielefeld, because
Bielefeld?
I have Bielefeld, and I think I have one more or two more. I don't know about Bremen. I would be
I'll
very
check it
interested
out.
in Bremen.
I'll check it out.
But yeah, I think the new recording is very nice,
Yeah,
but the other ones from that tour are interesting as well, I have to say.
I agree.
There's some moments that are not happening. I mean, of course, but are not happening on the new record. But any kind of new glimpse that I get on JT, and especially this trio, which is my favorite trio of him, is something that I look forward to.
Hmm. I'll check if it's Bremen, and if it is, I'll send you. We transfer or something.
Yeah,
So,
and then I
uh,
can send you whatever I
yeah,
have.
please. Uh, Not to take too much of your time, Pablo. I don't know how we are, but
Oh, we're good.
you're okay. I wanted to ask you about your podcast series. I mean, I can probably know the answer already because that's why I'm doing it. But how come you decided to do it, and how do you prepare? I've seen the notes. I love those, by the way. Like, what's your process when preparing, and
Hmm.
especially the initial idea? I mean, you answered it already in the beginning that you said you want to find out about the background and everything, but
Yeah, so I was always reading interviews. I was always watching interviews, and I'm always reading books about my favorite artists. I love interview books. And in the biographies, I prefer the autobiographies because you get the first-hand information. And that's already it. I want to get as close to the source of that beautiful music as possible. And then I noticed, and I often noticed that the questions that I'm interested in are not the questions that are usually asked in PR interviews. More often asked in musician to musician,
yeah.
or like somebody who's really an expert on their music conversations, yes. But then also, there were so many moments in interviews, even by great musicians, where I felt like, yeah, but how come you don't? How come you stop with that topic now? He's about, or they're about to give you that little nugget that I'm looking for,
Yeah.
And I often name a book, an example from, where is it? I'm looking through my book collection right now, and I'm looking for this. Yeah, there it is. It's actually a great book. Do you know this one?
No. Oh, yeah, I haven't read it yet. I know of it, but haven't read it yet.
David Hydew. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. A great book
Billy
about
Strayhorn, yeah.
Billy Strayhorn called Lush Life. And there's this one moment where, I don't know, maybe I even made a, no, I didn't. There's this one moment where he talks about, he talks to a childhood friend of Billy Strayhorn. And that childhood friend said, yeah, Billy was always helpful, and he always showed us, and he always showed me things. And there was this one moment where he showed me that one exercise, and all of a sudden, piano playing was so much easier. Full stop, next chapter.
Oh shit.
And I was like,
Yeah, what is it?
what? So that's basically just an example for the reason why I'm doing these interviews, because if nobody, or I'm not saying nobody, you're doing a great job. And I love the books. I love this is a great book, I think. Len Lyons, The Great Jazz Pianists.
Oh shit,
That's a
I've heard those.
great
Okay.
example
I'll write
of
it down.
somebody talking in depth about the process to great pianists. Like a lot of people are in here, like Herbie,
Oh shit, I have to find it.
Bill
Okay.
Evans, Chick Corea. a lot of people, and I've learned a lot through that book. There's a great conversations book by Ben Sidran. That's a good
Really?
one.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
I mean, there are great examples of people asking, in my opinion, the right kind of questions, because the thing is that I don't need to know where somebody started out with music. I don't need to know about where they grew up, because I already know this from the people
That's
that
yeah.
so I don't ask questions that you could answer by one look on their website, because I'm not gonna ask a question that I already know the answer to, because that's not why I'm doing it. I have questions and I want answers for these questions. Sometimes I get them. Most of the time I end up with a connection, and I don't really remember oftentimes the answers, but more like how the conversation felt. I'm sure you have similar experiences. And yeah, then it was basically out of the feeling, if I don't see these questions being asked, I need to do it myself.
Okay.
And let me find ways to make that happen. And also, the joy for me is in part doing these conversations, but the other part of that joy is sharing it with others, because I often feel like these are more like when I sat in that dinner with Scofield before our show. It's like that was maybe one of my first interviews. It could have been one of my first interviews, because usually when I got the opportunity to play with somebody, I asked them every question that I could think of, because I thought this will be the last time probably, or I don't know when I will get another chance to sit in the same room like this legend. So I better ask what I'm interested in and not hold back, because I've also noticed that sometimes you might assume that somebody doesn't like to talk about the music, but it's actually the thing that they do the most in their life.
Smart, yeah.
They're probably interested in talking about it.
Yeah.
But when you ask, so what, how do you compose? You will get a very general answer. And you will probably get an answer that they have given in multiple interviews before. But if you ask about a very specific piece and even a very specific part in a piece, you will get a very specific answer and something that nobody has maybe asked. And therefore, I'm leaving out a lot of, and you are too, I think, you're leaving out a lot of obvious PR questions and making room for very, very specific things where you also in these interviews, I don't think about the audience. I care about sharing it with the audience afterwards, but I don't think about, is this something that will interest most of the people? No, I actually, my driving force is my own personal interest. And because I'm such I enjoy so much to listen to people. Yeah, I enjoy so much to listen to people who talk about things and who know what they're talking about,
Yep.
like experts. I could listen to experts talking to each other for a long time, even if I don't understand the topic itself. But just the way that people are engaged and talking with each other is something that inspires me. So I'm listening a lot to interviews with actors or filmmakers, or and oftentimes I don't understand when they talk about different lenses. I don't know what that means, or that doesn't make a difference for me. But when I can just try to engage with that feeling of how they interact, how they listen to each other, then I can basically listen to anything like that. So I took that as an excuse to be very specific and very nerdy without thinking about, maybe this part of the audience won't understand. I just take that example from podcasts that I love, and just go with it.
No, Yeah, I love that. Sometimes I remember the Band Street interview when it came out, it was like
Hmm.
7 hours long or something. No,
Pretty long, yeah.
I love that one. It was so cool, man. It was very
Thank
cool.
you.
Yeah. But Pablo, not to take too much of your time, then you mentioned like a gigging with Chris Potter. Like, how did you connect with Chris? And one tiny question, like your story with Melissa. I love how you play with Melissa. I know she plays in
Hmm.
the States with Glenn
Yeah.
Zaleski, so you're the European pianist, and I love your contributions with her. Like, how did you hook up with her and playing with her? Because, I think you're similar generations and
Hmm.
language-wise, and it's a beautiful fit. And how do you prepare for a tour like with Melissa? Because you're a sideman, then it's different than your own trio.
Yeah. Okay. Quickly, I don't need to go in the next minutes or so. Just
Okay.
trying to wrap up those questions of yours. So Chris Potter, okay, so he worked with the WDR big band, and especially when I was studying or I wasn't as busy as a father yet, I would go to their rehearsals because they're open, and that's a great way to see all these great guests of them in rehearsal mode, which is that's a great lesson, you know. So I remember seeing Sko there and him sounding incredible at 10 a.m. in the morning, playing Still Warm.
Mm.
Um, and then I went to rehearsals with Chris Potter, where he was playing with Randy Brecker, and then went to the concert, and then ended up in the backstage area and told him how much I love his playing and his music. And then he was like, "Yeah, should we go for a drink?" And then we went for a drink and talked. And so we had
Mm.
that exchange, had a nice evening. I went to New York for the first time in 2011 for a bit longer than a week. Went to one of his shows, or maybe saw him at a different concert. We bonded again there. And then I was in touch with the WDR and proposed a collaboration with Chris. And so we ended up doing a little tour with Chris Potter and the WDR big band, 3 days. And as a first set, he played with my trio as
Mm. Okay.
the
Beautiful.
first set. So we had a quick rehearsal and then played these 3 shows. Also one unofficial show in a great club in Köln, which was pretty rough and pretty not the experience, but the club itself it's not there anymore. But it was incredible underground place with lots of young people who never listened to jazz, but were open because of the great atmosphere of that club to improvisation, and really celebrate it as if we would play like I don't know, like a hip hop concert there or something. So we played that as our opening concert, and we really had a great time with him and played another festival a couple of years later. Then Chris asked me to sub in his quartet in 2016,
Oh, beautiful.
and that was a great experience with Marcus Gilmore and Joe Martin
Oh
and
man,
Chris.
really? Oh wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it
That's
was incredible. And yeah, we basically kept in touch, and now um we're doing something again with him. But the first time we played with him was 2013.
wow.
So already a long time ago. Um but like with Sko, we keep in touch, and when he's in town I try to see him, and
Yeah.
and Melissa, that also came through a gig where I mean, I think the first thing was I interviewed her on the podcast. We kept in touch. I saw her when she was in town with her band. They sounded amazing at Stadtgarten. Um, and then I asked her to play with me at Cologne Jazz Week in Köln. Then I asked her and that was a great experience. And the full concert is on YouTube. Then we played for a week at Unterfahrt in
Mm.
Munich,
Really? Wow. That's amazing.
recorded every day, and some of that is on YouTube as well. That was a great experience. And then then she asked me to play in her quartet for a European tour, and then another tour, and we're gonna play again next year.
Yeah, I saw that. Beautiful.
So my way of preparing is like similar to Sko or what I've seen Sko do. It's like try to know as much about the music as you can. Really go deep into the compositions and the little nuances of each composition. For some of the songs, I wrote my own charts because what I got from Melissa, she has a great working band. So what happens a lot is like she'll bring a sheet to the rehearsal. She already knows the song by heart. The people learn it, then they make changes, but the original chart never gets changed because they're working on it and then everybody makes their notes. So her file on her computer is oftentimes the same as before. Not always, but often. And especially with the tunes that I got to learn. And then I noticed that when I was listening to because that's the first thing that I usually do is listen to a recording of the song while reading along with it and making notes.
Yeah.
And then I noticed, shit, I don't get this kick. Why do I miss this hit always? Why do I miss this chord? Oh, maybe there's a different melody, So I started making my own charts, and that turned out to be a beautiful way to prepare, which I've done since then quite often, actually. Not because I think my charts are superior or anything. No, I do it because while I write it down, it becomes clearer for me. And sometimes I think differently about how to maybe design the form, because you might see, oh, here's 4 bars, and then there's a 6-bar phrase, and then there's 3-bar phrases. So I kind of want to see that right away. And by writing it down, it's almost like a, the cheat sheet that you write in school for a math test or something. Usually when you write it down, after that, you know it. So that happened. The same thing happened with me when I write tunes for sheets for tunes. And that turned out to be, that's something that I do more often these days when I prepare for something. Can I find a way to write it down differently, that it's a smaller chart? Of course, then I can rely on great recordings and voice memos that Melissa sends me from the rehearsal sessions or from her playing it at the piano. So you get the direct and very clear message and can start your preparation process from there.
Yeah.
And then that's usually a great way already to learn the music by heart. So, that's the goal. That I don't always reach that goal, but if I can know as much by heart already, that's great. And then, of course, through playing it a lot on tour, that happens more and more, that it really sinks in and becomes part of you.
Yeah.
And also
the music, in the end.
Yeah. And also, if you play with a great band, if you come into a band that is already working, it's really easy, with the good players, I think. They really invite you in. So Kush and Pablo and Melissa, they have so much shared experience that you can really jump into it and feel welcomed from the start,
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah, fantastic, man. Well, if you're gonna be close to Maribor in Austria, drop me a line. I have to see you guys, like in whatever context. Like in Graz is like half an hour away from me. So if you're gonna be in Graz, let me know.
Nothing. We talked to Treibhaus. That's in Graz,
in Innsbruck.
Right?
That's
Innsbruck. I'm sorry. And we're going to play at Porgy and Bess with Chris Potter. Nothing in Graz, though.
Ah, damn.
Where would we play in Graz?
Stockwerk is probably the only option, honestly. Like, I can send you the address of the guy if you want to contact him.
Thank you, yeah.
No problem. I've played there many times. The fees are quite decent, actually, so it's not a bad gig to be on the road. So.
Okay, good to know.
I'll send you a link of the guy.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Cool, Pablo. I'll let you go to have a nice, day, afternoon, whatever.
Yes, thank you. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, you too, man. And stay strong and let's keep in touch. And
let's please do, yeah. And thanks for the great work that you're doing.
You too. Thank you. Looking
Okay.
forward to the next one. So
Okay.
okay.